was going to just video this as a regular video and post it, but I thought it's important for me to, part of my journey and trying to extract the opportunities and grow forward in the ways that I want to, beginning to go live more and to share a little bit about a little bit of me with you is really important to me. I was going to talk about I was going to do some art stuff, but I'm not quite sure, how you doing, Texas, how much time I'm going to put for that right now, because I really wanted to address a couple of things, and I actually jotted down some notes that I was just going to tape a video, but I'll try to answer all these questions. I'll go back to them and try to answer them for sure. So you could type in the questions. I'll be sure to get to them. I know a lot of people are going through a lot of stress right now with everything going on globally, and I felt like there was that I had some input, some helpful things that they might be able to use. And often I tend to keep quiet on a lot of things that I views that I have. It's kind of weird in a way. I'm not really shy. I've talked in groups and been on TV and stuff, but there's a big difference between when you get to a point where you've just sort of like given up and on trying to be a certain person. And I think a lot of us we don't share how we've gotten somewhere. We want to ignore the contrast or anything like that, and so we don't really expose ourselves with what we have and have to offer to others. And a good thing about this all recent events for me is that it really positions me to open up and share more of anything that I have to offer. And I think that was, for me, it's been a big part of my journey. And so I'm hoping to make this sort of thing, going live and sharing videos and talking about processes and stuff, something that I do more often. And you're gonna get me the way I am. I'll curse sometimes. I'll just sometimes I'll just change the fucking subject. I'll like talk about something and stop that, because it's like my mind is going, and I'll switch gears and switch tracks, and it's that, and those aspects about me that often I allow for me to be a barrier in sharing stuff. I'm like, I don't want to fucking, I'll tape something and tape it like 6 or 7 fucking times and look at it. I'm like, forget, I'll do another day, and not share or do things. Or I'm making something and I feel it needs to be made in a certain best way possible, and there's no such thing as that, man. So anyway, I wanted to talk about, like, a lot of people out there probably, just they're in the house and it's a good time to reflect. And there's one thing I've been so appreciative is that I've over the years decided to pursue a path that really I'm passionate about. And I think that this is a good opportunity not only to do that for some people might be totally out of a job or for whatever reason, using that as a set point to change your focus, I think is a good topic to talk about, as well as creating something from what I like to say, nothing. I like to at times I like to make things, and you'll be amazed how resourceful you can make something with relatively little things. It's more about the ideas and the way in which you approach what you have, And at a time right now where people might think that they don't have much, or I'm out of a job and I don't have the resources of this, or maybe you're an artist, I'm not an artist, I don't have that to tap into it. I don't think that's true. I think first of all, I think we're all sort of like artists. We're all creating. We're creating ourselves. We're all story writers, script writers. We're living out ourselves, and once you start to get that mindset into you, and start tweaking some of the ways that you think, you realize the creative power you have, and opportunities to do things are abound. And I am right. The reason I'm even doing this video is because those of you out there who might feel like, fuck, you're down rock bottom, like I said, I feel I'm there too with you, but I feel like I've been there before. There's a part of me that is able to kind of be patient through that process. Maybe because I've decided to do what I love, and I feel I could be behind on bills, which I am, and I feel like a billionaire or millionaire, whatever the hell. I tried, and I think that, well, at times you go back and forth. Is it like, but you have to find those things that you love to do, and you have to be optimistic and just let your mind go. And I want to talk about those things and how I was able to get there. And it's not like there's a there you ever get. It's never ending. Like, just when I thought I was there, then shit like this happens, globally. So it goes on and on. But it's part of growing, man, and it's easy to go down a rabbit hole and not to stay positively focused, and some people do that over not just days and weeks and months and a year. It's all about it's part of the human experience, but even so finding the positives can be difficult at times. I had a few days when this all started to unfold, and jobs and stuff that I had been working on planning, just everything stopped, and then there's the health, worry of individuals around you and family across the country and all that you can really get going places where you really have no power, and so you got to be able to see the positives, and it was hard for me to see at first, but then I realized that for me, even like making this video and talking about these things, the positive of the current events kind of inspired me to say, fuck it, what do you got to lose? Just do it. It's what you want to do anyway. I like making things for people and sharing those things, making people happy and inspiring others. And I can't do that if I just put on a fucking Halloween event or whatever and then just go hibernate like a bear for the rest of the year creating all this stuff. I'm enjoying it, but there's no energy of me flowing out and opportunities and of connecting with individuals. It's lacking the full energy that I of connecting with people when I know it's probably in the best interest of myself and others. So that's one positive. And it also awakened me to being more mindful. I mean, I get loving what I do so much sometimes that I don't become mindful of the things that I should be that are allowing that to happen. And even examples could be followers, being mindful of and having gratitude in a way that I want to give back. And not just, okay, here's what I made, boom, there's a picture. So hitting that level of where we're at, this sort of, I don't know, current situation, rock bottom, whatever, really shook me to, and I really felt like I hit rock bottom a few months ago. So it was like this whole core of events recently really shook me, and it would much needed more shake, because obviously I wasn't doing videos like this when I thought I was at the bottom. So anyway, those things right there bring me such gratitude for where we're at, because I know it was a crucial thing for me, and I could only be responsible for me. And another thing I want to talk about is how sometimes we see things from our own perspective, but we don't grant the other people abilities to see it from their perspective without judgment, and it's so important that we not do that. You go online, it's just full right now with people blaming other people for not seeing it the way that they see it, and I definitely want to talk about that as well, because it's not only helpful on this bigger picture, it's helpful for you as an individual, because that mindset that one displays when they're casting judgment, if that's going on, you bet for fucking sure it's going on within their own head about themselves on certain issues, like wherever you learn from, are things that typically get passionate about. But if you're beating someone else up over not having learned it, then you probably haven't forgiven yourself for any actions that resonate with you on a similar subject or whatever. So it's like just like fucking giving up, and stop beating yourself up over anything is so important, so that you can have a worldview that is compassionate to others for not being in a spot where you think that they ought to be, and that's really important, because it's hard to have movement in positive directions as a society if you can't just be the light to inspire what you want, and if someone's doing something different, you don't need to just condemn and all that type of stuff. You get more movement when with positivity and actually living and being that person to bring about change. So I given up, like, it was, but for me to get to that point was taking many years, but it was years of inside my head with me to get to that. Because you can't love everyone around you and stuff if you can't love everyone around you or people around you that don't hold the same values, if you can't even have gratitude and appreciation for the you that made the mistakes that brought you those sort of values. And just because someone changes behavior doesn't mean that they've fully forgiven and softened the weight of themselves, their own inner self-love or doubt and all that stuff. You have to do that first, and then it happens on the outside. So unfortunately there's a lot of people in situations that they're not happy with. So those aren't easy places to get to. But it's all inner stuff. Anyway, so what I want, like, creating something from nothing. I know a lot. So I want to get back to that. It takes a playful mind, right? Like if I'm sitting somewhere and there's very little things in the room, I'll start playing with some of the stuff, or I'll make something. I mean, I guess that's the artist in me, but people that know me also know that I'll kind of come up with funny storylines or like a what if, or sometimes I'll pretend something and I joke around or whatever. And those are all sorts of using a playful mind to engage. again, I know it's a big fucking jump to want to think, how can I be playful when all this shit's going on? But the first step in to be able to kind of engage yourself in that direction. Well, first of all, like things like meditating. If you're really in a dark space or whatever, you got to meditate, man. You have to take time every day to quiet yourself, to just let your mind relax. And it might be difficult at first to do, but you have to do that. If you're not allowing yourself to have a clear mind, you're not going to get much movement. So whether that be just kind of sitting in a quiet room, or I'll sit in this hammock over here in my studio and quiet the lights and shut the lights off and stuff, or go hiking in the mountains, which is even better. But you need to quiet your mind so that you can get a little bit of a reset there, and gratitude is really important. So if there's those issues that keep coming up, hopefully after quieting your mind, you could think about that subject so softly that you could at least have a little bit of a way of thinking about it, of gratitude, like, oh well, at least this and that. And just default to that, and hopefully you can let that go, because you have to, when you have movement, when you wanna create, you have to have movement in a positive vibration of thought, So appreciating where you're at is important. I know, like, I often do a lot of inner self-reflecting. I'm into art. But I always tell people probably the most important thing I'm into is this whole fascination of how thoughts and things seem to be associated with each other. As I've grown older, I'm starting to realize just how closely connected they are. So as I look back on things that have happened in my life, I realize the patterns and stuff. Not many people might know, but I was a school teacher for 13 years. I taught K through 12 art. After 13 years, actually after 11 years, I had stumbled across some, I had little kids, so like, the toys that were coming out at the time were fucking incredible, like McFarlane toys, the sculpting abilities on them, like the sculptures of them. I fell in love with them. I was like, I bought them for my kids, but I kind of like bought them for me. And so I was really inspired by, wow, these things look amazing. I hadn't really sculpted. I had already started doing some pumpkins for the students, but they did not look like the ones I do today. They're really crude. I just dabbled in it seasonally with them, and I enjoyed it though. Sculpture-wise, during course as a teacher, once in a while we'd do clay. Most of the shit would break in the kiln or whatever. I really never dove into different types of clays and wax. I did paper mache stuff, but for a good amount of years during my teaching years, I kind of wasn't as active as an artist as I am now. I was really into the outdoors there and fishing and stuff, and but when I saw those toys come out, I said, wow, wouldn't it be great if I could secure a couple of side, one job a year doing stuff like this to supplement my income, and then also feel like I was doing this thing that I wanted to do that I thought was great. And I enjoyed my job as a teacher then. I love hanging out with kids way more than adults, man. It was fun. And I think that my students that were went to this school, I think most of them agree that I enjoyed it. So anyway, but that was key, because if you want to move from one place to another, you have to be okay with where you're at. You can't allow for the amount of time that your mind is spent on. You can't allot your mind a lot of time going over how much it hates where it's at. I mean, you're not going to move out of that. You're not going to spend enough time imagining possibilities. And if you're not spending enough time imagining possibilities, you're not going to spend enough time realizing those possibilities right around you. And if you're not even realizing the possibilities around you, you're not going to act on them. So you're just not on the same fucking channel. You're just not on the same wavelength. You're complaining and thinking about where you're at. And so I'm pretty good, and my wife calls me obsessive. I'm pretty good at getting onto something that I want to do or I like and obsessing over it and creating it. So from saying this is something I want to try and pursue, from that day to 1 year later, I had done work for McFarlane Toys, Marvel, and DC Comics, and within a year's time, and I am convinced absolutely it was not my skill level as a sculptor, and I know some of you out there who may look up to my sculpting abilities might say, "Oh, you're out of your fucking mind" or whatever, but other peers that are in the sculpting industry, there is a lot of talent that knew much more about the craft than I did, that were looking for work. And I just happened to, I'm not saying I didn't have any of that talent, but I in reflecting upon it, I'm absolutely 100% convinced that the same way you could show someone your artwork or talk to someone or email something, your thoughts don't just stop in your head. They radiate out of all of us, and they connect with other individuals who are also engaged in thoughts. And there's a wave of communication that's happening that it's important. So it's important to be mindful of that for self-growth, but also to realize that sometimes a lot of things happen that are beyond your control, and perhaps that in a positive way means that you shouldn't see the limitations of what you think a certain thing could do or how it could affect or move on or attract. Like, all that is happening. If you could if we could take some sort of computer and look down at the planet and measure thoughts, it would see, like, all of a sudden, it would probably end up looking like this sort of internet thing that we have, but just way more complex. So that stuff's really going on. So I was able to make that jump from teaching to sculpting quickly, and one of the biggest, I say, factors in that was this ability to be happy with where I was at and positively focused on where I was going. Can't get movement without that. You got to start off. You have to start off with that increment. Doesn't mean that you I'm going to probably talk a lot of analogies with rock balancing. Because rock balancing for me is the same thing. Like, when I started off rock balancing, I didn't try to do the balances that I do now. That would be stupid. I was grateful for where I was at. I was grateful for the opportunity even to try to put a rock on edge. And putting that rock on edge allowed for me to have something to build upon and have appreciating and keep moving. But it was always this sort of, I could get better, and got to get the mind going, and you got to start off somewhere. So like, it's difficult. I get to when you're down, when you feel like nothing is going right. But hopefully, when you understand that we're in a boat together, there's more than just you in this. Perhaps that could help you realize that you're going to be okay. We'll be, a large majority of people are going to be okay. And we're going to be okay even if you fucking die. I mean, I hate to say it, but we're all going to die anyway. We're really all going to die. And all you have is like now, and then you have another now, and another now, and another now, and you just have to make the best of what you have if you want to move forward and grow. So, keeping a positive mindset on where you're at is like really important. You have when you start to look at the things around you. I mean, I know I'm talking as an artist, but you don't have to be an artist. You could whatever it is that you love to do, you have to fall in love with it unapologetically, so that you can be brave enough to see what you have to offer in it to yourself and to others. So like we're all connected. So when you could find value in something for yourself, then there are people connected around you that will resonate with. But you can't harbor that so much self-doubt. And I'm not saying you never get there. I am telling you, that's my journey. That's why I'm even having this fucking conversation. So you have to be able to do. You have to be able to find something that moves you or that you love and really tend to it. It's what else would, I mean, I don't know. It seems like we all have this sort of opportunity to be immersed in such a rich world of things that being positively focused on flows of energy that you feel bring you joy is almost like a duty. It's and we really are all connected. So as you do that, you begin to see yourself working with others and just I don't know, just having that sort of gratitude so that you could be in a clearer mind to create new opportunities for yourself. You know, and like you get online and there's a lot of people right now like just fucking, you know, arguing over the correct standpoint to take on any given subject, and using just I don't know, using examples that they feel are for the greater good for everybody, and they could seem you know, I tend to like listen. Whenever there's a polarizing subject, the introvert in me, the self-reflective part of me that loves to engage with myself in a level like okay, I'm amongst this movie that I'm helping to script and write, and I'm reading all these polarizing things in my movie, and how could I understand how this resonates with this person and this resonates with this person, and I try to so I look at both sides, and then I find balance that I feel I could, where my set point is, and that's it. And then I try not to cast judgment there, try not to cast judgment there, and it's important that we allow that for others. And if we truly want change, then to inspire that change by doing, because there is no mistakes, honestly. Because even the biggest mistakes that could be made are lessons, and that's hard for us to grasp especially when you see society doing stuff and you feel like it's really wrong, but we're seeing it from a micro level of just us. And there are things that our grandparents probably did that we would say, wow, how could you think that way? How did society think that way? And there are things that our grandkids will reflect upon how our society treated certain subjects, and they'll say, how the fuck did we? And that might be off our radar right now. Like there's always like this sort of there's a picture of us, and then there's the bigger picture of us as a species learning, and just in the way that like the best parts of me are intrinsically tied to lessons that I extracted from the worst parts of me, from the lessons from the things that I did with such regret that they became lessons, and I had gratitude towards the awakening on any given subject matter, and then that grew me to a better person. Like without any sort of trials and tribulations and mistakes, there wouldn't be any growth. All right? And without any sort of forgiveness of myself to have so that I could have those lessons, there would also be no growth in me. So when you realize that nothing's ever wrong, you as an individual or as a society, that all there ever is to be that example of a better version that you want to be. And that's how you grow. You don't beat your fucking self up over, you don't try to define yourself as the feelings that you felt when you were the most depressed. You don't define yourself by the things that you did that you feel rotten about. You don't define yourself. No, you don't do any of that. You really realize that we're all here on a journey, and we're going to fuck up and make mistakes. Hopefully. Because that's how you're going to grow. And when you can grasp that and start to have a sort of a more nurturing view of yourself, you'll realize that you'll be able to have that not only with others, but then even when you're thinking about how systems and larger things, which are just reflections of the people, when you think about those larger things going on, you can tend to see that, you know what, that's not even broken. Nothing is ever broken, even when it's going down the wrong fucking direction. It's just waiting to, it has the potential to reap the benefits, even if there's any benefits anyway. It's all, like, all possibilities, the inability to see the perfection of it is all there really is. And that might fucking piss people off to hear, I don't know, but trust me, you could do a lot of things to me right now that I might say, what the fuck, that's not perfect. It's not perfect to my condition right now, but it'll take a loosening of my mind to be able to at least soften it enough where I could regain a set point and start to then again play, inspire, create, and in doing that, you'd be contagious to others, and have compassion to people right now. There's something to be said about mental stress. Mental stress causes physical stress. So here you have a large group wanting to protect and slow down physical manifestations of a deterioration through this virus, and then it's coming at a cost that's putting such tremendous amount of mental stress on systems, and now there's people at different levels. So there's people who can't afford to take off 2 weeks without like really major consequences, but there's people unfortunately that'll probably become homeless, and And that is stress, which is the same thing that causes, which they're all, it's all the same. I mean, actually, if I were, while I wouldn't want to, there are a lot of physical stressors or things that I probably would prefer happen to me than some mental ones to have to deal with, because those mental ones, and they're just one and the same. The mental ones would manifest in my body as physical things. You might not be able to measure it right then and there, but all those mental stresses over time will manifest. So we kind of just displace it, and it's a very noble idea to take this virus that we see and kind of displace that, and do our part as individuals for others to soften that blow, because we're all connected. But the last thing I would do is to say that, okay, I'm going to find where I'm going to sacrifice on that scale, and you have to meet me there in this spot. Doesn't make any sense. Now, it doesn't make any sense nothing makes sense. The only thing is you make the sense from your own, where you find alignment with what you feel you can do and the best that you could do. But it doesn't mean that you show or do the opposite to tout what's wrong with where other people are doing, because that's just what they then start doing. You'll have people violating that, calling you, this sort of stupid. You start to engage, and it's not just one person engaging. It's like a ping pong match of mindsets. Okay, you're wrong. This is why. Oh yeah, I'm right because of this. And you go back and forth. It's not until an individual could say, you know what, to grab the ping pong ball, if you're playing in that mental ping pong ball you're having matching your head, to grab it and say, well, I find peace here in knowing that I'm making the right decisions out of love, out of caring, and out of knowing me and this and that, and I see how, like, you can't just you still don't want to cast judgment in your mind. Just by you not saying anything doesn't mean you stop casting judgment. This world works beyond our fucking mouths and writing. Can you soften your mind about the other? And this could be on any given subject. Right now we're talking about this virus and the dilemmas that we're all going through right now, but this could be on any subject. Can you soften your mind to not see anything as wrong as just as a part of the learning process, even for that person, or even for society? Just and soften it in the same way that you would need to do if you were self-reflecting about your behavior on things, and to say, okay, yeah, back then I was going through some troubled times, and that's why I behave that way, and it's okay, I forgive myself, or I that gave me the clarity, or that really woke me up. Like, can you quiet that, and then also quiet it on how you cast judgment to others on different topics? That's what a lot of us need to do during times like this. I have a lot of friends that we're polar. You take certain topics, and we do not see eye to eye at all, but we're still friends. I don't judge them for that. They're the colorful characters in my movie. And there are others that I don't know how you fucking talk to that person. And the funny thing is that those individuals, they display a different part of them with me than they do with other people, because they probably feel that they're not being judged, and as a result open up. Think about your own family. Think about how much slack we cut for our family on the ability to be different, because we know that at the end of the day we still love them, and all that opens up lines of communication. It strengthens. It's what makes you a family. If people extended that sort of mindset beyond them, then the world would have so much higher energy flowing through it. But there's a part of me that understands that's an inner job that has to be done first. You can't get there. You cannot get to a forgiving type of person with individuals in your life if you can't even have that within yourself. You can't carry those two different vibrations of thought. And so be more forgiving and loving of yourself so that you can then be that example to others. Because and when you're really true and honest and raw with yourself, then you start to put together things and see the connectedness, see the self-responsibility and really and do that. It's never ending, dude. It's my fucking journey is that, you know, I this is really all opened to me. I'm so grateful for all of this because it's really tweaked a way in which I think and way in my personality that that I allow to finally inspire me to line up more with what I always wanted or whatever, and so anyway, you have to like do that sort of self, and you know that self-reflecting is such, it's be so therapeutic. You know, it's like it sometimes you get caught in a world with a bunch of noise and chatter of what to do in society, and you don't tend to pursuing you know, you don't tend to pursuing the things that you feel drawn to. You have a view of yourself and how you behave, how you fit in this world. You have a view that lacks your ability to be the fullest you, and that could be difficult to overcome. So you know, I'm gone. You know, I care. So psychedelics. This might, like, a lot of people. What the fuck is he talking about? I'll tell you right now. That could help certain individuals to kind of shed a lot of that baggage, probably more than anything else out there, and that obviously might scare individuals. But you know, hey, I absolutely feel that. So I would be an absolute fraud if I'm going to sit here and try to have an open conversation about me and my thoughts on things and leave that out. That would be stupid. It is, and you can go ahead and look at that and those types of things. That is like medicine that's been used for centuries through cultures. So although while a modern Western view might find that to be shocking, that's okay. That's okay. In the same way, if I picked up a beer here, it might be fine, but if I picked up a joint, all of a sudden, fucking, what the fuck is he doing? Like, it's those sorts of ways of thinking that need to be dissolved for a lot of people. You know, it's not that it might not be right for you. That's okay too. You know, but anyway, softening that one's thoughts on themselves so that they can find themselves, as far as, like, you know, find the things that really things that move them or inspire them or drive them, so incredibly important. So you know, right now not everyone, but a lot of people who are in positions where maybe they could start doing that. Fine, and it's never ending, so don't worry about that. But the thing you can be sure of is that if you pick the right thing, you won already by doing it. You're doing what you have to do what you love. You don't do things so that you can get to a position to do the things you love. That doesn't exist. You'll never get there. If you wanted, you don't play baseball for the trophy. You play baseball for the game. You don't do like you do. You have to start choosing a path that the process of it is what you love. I don't think that there could be any award given to me that, or even any benchmark that I would be able to achieve. Like even when I say, because a lot of times, that's a big problem I have is sometimes. So that's like I haven't had like this whole predicament that the world is in. I told you, got me. I'm grateful that it was able to inspire me to do the things like even have this sort of talk or to be able to have a more of an open conduit of me with the rest of the world. I'm grateful for that. But one of the things I sometimes try. One of the things that it also inspires is, do I know what I want? Do I know what it is that I want to create, or what goal do I have? And I know that I want to make things and share them with people, but it seems like that's just a soft goal. But I guess that is the lesson that I have. That's enough. Like that. Like sometimes I don't want like this. Like sometimes I think am I putting certain frameworks of what that trophy is going to look like out there that aren't really maybe aligned with exactly what I want. I mean, I like fucking just I like hiking and wandering, playing with rocks, and just I don't know, just all the stuff that I do. I love. I don't think that any of the benchmarks or trophies or accomplishments or would mean any more than some of the things that I already engaged in this last month. Some of the things I made. Like when I'm in the process of making things, I'm loving it. When I'm creating or doing something that I love, I love it like crazy. And it's hard for me to imagine there not being a better now than then. Winning of any, you say you win an Academy Award for a movie, being on stage accepting that award would seem to be a fraction more fulfilling than the making of one of the things that I've made. If that makes any sense. So sometimes I think that maybe, because I'm like, maybe I'm not really, I don't have a business plan or direction that's clear. That's I'm just giving up on that sort of details, and not go down mindsets that often limit me on how I think things need to work out or do. As long as I'm doing what feels to be happiest, and you don't need to be an artist to do that. You don't. And you do need to, things that you would need to do that is to stop seeing, start telling yourself a different story about you, first of all. Like start being more optimistic. It's amazing what limitations we put on ourselves. For me, my Achilles heel is that I feel like these things need to be perfect sometimes. Like I feel like okay, I'm not gonna share that until I fix that issue with it, or I'm not gonna make that because I'm waiting till I get money so I could use this material on it, or I'm not I'm not going to do something because of something. Bottom line. And we allow those conditional environments to stop us. We allow those conditional perceptions to stop us from moving forward. I did that for years. For a while, I think back like 5 or 6 years ago, I took on so many jobs. I left the house in like August, and I didn't return home until November 9th, 6th or 9th or something like that. Now I did come home for 6 days in between that span. And other than that, we were doing jobs in Hong Kong, Italy, Switzerland, New York, Hawaii, and LA. So I did a lot of traveling. One time I remember, even during that time, there was one time that it was like a 2-week period, and I had gone through some major time zone changes and trying to operate and stuff, and it was then that it was after that year, I didn't even want to go to Hawaii. Like the project the season kind of ended me off in Hawaii. And I just told my wife I just wanted to go home, and everyone was excited to go meet in Hawaii. But once I got there, it was fine. But that whole experience made me realize, and I was taking on a lot of these jobs because I thought, you know what, if I could get more jobs, I could make more money so that I could do the things I wanted to do. Not that I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, but there was. Life is for me. Life has been a constant refinement process. I loved sculpting for the collectible industry, absolutely loved it, but I love the idea of sculpting whatever I want a little bit more. Never really been a big fan of comic book stuff, even growing up. I'm an odd character that I just get obsessively focused on the things that I do. I'm not even, a lot of people will be surprised to find that I'm not even into like horror movies or Halloween stuff. Not even movies or TV in general. I never watched a single episode of Walking Dead, never watched a single episode of Game of Thrones, never watched, I haven't even watched one of those superhero movies. I saw the animated Spider-Man one, which I love, but all the rest of them, I haven't seen any of them probably for the last 10 years. So, I get very, very contained and focused into the areas that I'm actually. I feel like I constantly need to be making something. It's hard for me to just watch and take in. I'm very much imagining and wanting to make. So it's difficult for me to sit through many movies. Although I love. That doesn't mean that I don't watch any. Or haven't seen any movies. I mean, there's certain little genres that I really love. I love the animated kid movies. I like watching the art. Now I totally forgot where I was going with that. Talking on, but anyway, it's it feels good to be able to, I am not, it's important for me to this is as useful to me to talk about these subjects, and it's not just, you need to do this, you need to do that. No, this is coming from lessons that I've learned. I went through the self-accountability of my contribution to why things don't. I don't know. No, they always just actually being happy. It sounds like it's important. It really, really is important to be able to find a place to be happy. There's no other reason to there's no other reason to exist. I mean, you can be happy. It's like, and it's, while these circumstances now might seem bleak, there's opportunities for happiness, and there's opportunities for movement, and there's opportunities for growth. There's even an opportunity that you would look back on this and think, thank fucking God that happened. You know? You got to be able to, you got to be able to be, you have to be able to not really, you got to give up a little bit. Like, you got to give up control, especially controlling how other people are reacting to it, and expectations. You know, it's hard enough to change ourselves. It's hard enough to, when you're really true with yourself, you realize that growth can be hard. It requires you to be brave enough to step into circumstances that you don't know the answer, that are dark. And that sort of self-growth is very difficult. What makes you think that you're going to fucking judge someone into their growth? They're already having a different journey, and they might be spending a part of their mind trying to grow in a different direction. You giving them the biggest sort of reprimand or whatever, it's not going to do a fucking thing, other than prevent you from spending your time positively focused somewhere. So it's a kind of a good time, a good environment for us to learn to accept one another, to be a little bit less conditional on where they need to be and how they need to behave on any issue. This is not something that, there'll be more issues. And anyway, but I will talk. But we will talk art stuff. I even grabbed I put a bunch of stuff here. I mean, I went and bought a potato, so maybe carve that. And I have a bunch of other stuff here. Rock. Like, there's each one of these things is like, there's a rock with a hole in it. You might see some people that might be like, big fucking deal to rock with a hole in it. It's okay, I don't care. It brings me joy, so we might talk about that. But I'm going to take a break from this right now, and just hope everyone out there is hanging in there, and do your best to stay positively focused and create things out of nothing. Take care, bye.